Good morning. This is the Great Basin Smoke Dispersion Briefing for Friday, January 31st. Taking a look at precipitation over the past 7 days, we can see that we've had quite a bit. Areas in the green, a ½ inch to an inch from the higher terrain of Utah, northern Nevada on up into Idaho and western Wyoming. Some cases even higher amounts. Notice how much the precipitation tapers off south of I-80 and Highway 50 and basically nothing across the southern parts of Nevada into the Arizona Strip. That again is reflected on the right-hand side. You can see the areas of significantly below normal, anywhere from 0 to 10% of normal for this time of year. Those areas are red, and areas that have been continuing to get moistened, these areas in the purple, 300 to 400% of normal late January precipitation occurred last week. That is also shown both in recent snowfall. You can see here in the higher terrain of Idaho, some places even picked up 18 to 24 inches of snow up in the higher terrain outside of McCall, near Sun Valley, 6 to 12 inches areas in the yellow, and a few inches in the areas in the blue. Snow cover on the map, you can continue to see the higher terrain of Idaho, western Wyoming, northern Nevada, and much of the higher terrain of Utah covered in anywhere from 20 to 50 inches of snow in some of the purple areas up here. Snowpack is over 75 inches deep, higher terrain of the Wasatch as well, but it really tapers off again as you head further south. The 1,000-hour fuels, now we've seen some drying in this yellow, 11 to 15%, which is fairly moist for fire season, but for late January, that's a little on the dry side for this time of year, so that could open up the door for some burning in some of these areas in yellow that have escaped some of the recent storms. Otherwise, most areas in the green and dark green, 1,000-hour fuel still soggy wet. Now, the satellite imagery for this morning shows a strong high pressure ridge building into the west coast, into California, providing dry weather into the Sierra. But we see clouds spilling over this ridge of high pressure. We kind of call this a dirty high, because high pressure usually brings clear skies. The dirt being some moisture that sometimes evolves as deep Pacific moisture rides up and over the high pressure ridge. So we'll see some clouds through here. But it's this storm system, you can see the edge of it up here in the Gulf of Alaska, which will drop down and bring significant amounts of precipitation to most of the Great Basin by early next week. For today, we see the moisture with that high in the cloud cover pushing into eastern parts of the Great Basin and further north, but drier and much warmer air, warmer than we've seen in quite some time, pushing into the western Great Basin. Dispersion on the right-hand side, not as bad as it could be. Areas in purple are the lowest areas, but areas in red to yellow, marginal. And look at as we break down the components, the transport winds on the left, fairly light areas in purple, but on the gusty side in the highest terrain of Utah and western Wyoming. Mixing heights, vertical mixing, you can see where the long-lasting inversions are in the purple shades, and where we mix out our inversions and mix out several thousand feet as you go from the green to the yellow and orange shades. So we go into Saturday. We are still under a flat high pressure ridge. We do notice a front developing ahead of this low. You see this area of moisture here across parts of Oregon into Idaho and Montana. Overall dispersion starts decreasing a little bit as the high builds in. A lot more areas in the purple. Transport winds fairly light in the south, starting to pick up a little bit as you go further north. You can see longer lasting inversions in many areas here in the purple, but better as you head further north into Idaho, where dispersion will be significantly better. It'll be closer to that low pressure area. On Sunday, you see how much moisture has expanded under that low. Significant precipitation starts developing across Nevada, Idaho, parts of northern Utah towards the end of the day. Notice on the dispersion map much more in the way of white, which is typical when high pressure breaks down and low pressure, which is more unstable, mixes out the atmosphere. The lowest dispersion areas will be furthest to the east. Notice the transport winds picking up here, and these are coming out of the north actually, and some of these gusts are in excess of 40 miles per hour out of the south here in Utah at similar speeds, 30 to 40 miles per hour. Vertical mixing really good in most areas, very few lingering inversions. The Utah Clearing Index, which is another dispersion estimator, shows pretty poor dispersion conditions both today, tomorrow, but significant improvement, especially across western areas on Sunday. 3-day precipitation totals from Friday morning to Monday morning. You can see that already precipitation expected to cover much of the Great Basin. Not extremely heavy yet, but darkest green, be about 1/4 to 1/2 inch. And in snowfall, with cold air moving in, that'll probably be 4 to 8 inches of new snow. You see the darkest areas in the green. Now on Monday, that low pressure system deepens significantly into a closed low over eastern Utah, western Colorado. Significant amounts of mostly snow under this cold low pressure system. Northerly wind flow for the most part, moderate to strong, excellent overall dispersion. But again, if you got snow cover on the ground or snow falling here in eastern areas of the Great Basin, probably not a good dispersion day, not a good burning day. Tuesday, that low kind of moves out. Notice we have strong northerly winds through here, some more moisture spilling on through. Again, strong northerly flow. Areas in the white to yellow indicate good overall dispersion. We have another wave of precipitation moving in from the north, most significant amounts in Idaho, western Wyoming, northern areas of Nevada and Utah, with that flow coming out of the north. And on Thursday, strong high pressure building into the west coast, and this will influence the western Great Basin with diminishing winds, much warmer, drier conditions there, but continuing to see some clouds and disturbances moving to the eastern portion of the Great Basin, where dispersion there will be the best. Precipitation accumulation days 4 and 5. This will be Monday morning through Wednesday morning, confined to the eastern Great Basin, but locally heavy amounts. Dark green to blue areas indicates anywhere from maybe 1/4 to 1/2 inch to as much as 3/4 of an inch of additional precipitation. With cold air in place, that probably means another 5 or 10 inches of snow for most middle and higher elevations, and probably snow down to the basin floor as well, down to 4,000 feet. The 8 to 14 day outlook shows a colder than normal temperature expectation. This is from February 7th through the 13th. We'll see a big variety in terms of precipitation chances, much drier than normal the closer you head to the Sierra front, wetter than normal the closer you get to the Wasatch front and further north. This concludes our briefing. Next briefing will be coming up this Monday. We typically do these Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays in the off season. Have a great weekend.